Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ellen, and also an educator for Women's Fitness Academy, as you know by now, and also a binge and body image coach. Today I am here with someone who I've been following for a long time on social media, who I'm very, very excited to talk to. Her name is Lily, and she's a social media coach. And she helps a lot of women and men, I assume as well, maybe, help grow their pages. And yeah, I'm really excited to have her on the podcast and for her to share her journey. So welcome, Lily.
Thank you for having me on, Ellen. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And yeah, like before we started, I was like, you ready soon? And then I realized that Lily is actually in Queensland, not in New South Wales.
Yes, but we made it here. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, I normally get time zones wrong because I'm in Bali and that's like 3 hours behind New South Wales. And now obviously like I forget that Australia doesn't have all the same time zones. It's so confusing.
Oh my goodness, you're telling me. Just time zones in general, it's just so tricky. Tricky.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm excited to have you on. I think that like we spoke a little bit about before we started recording, and I was like, oh, you used to do coaching and stuff. And you're like, no, not really. So like talk to us about like your journey into like growing your page. Like you obviously have quite a few followers, into fitness, and yeah, how you started basically.
Well, essentially, it kind of all goes back to 2019, I believe. I was in high school in grade 10. I have always been a really like healthy and active kid growing up. So I had a really big passion for healthy baking and healthy lifestyle. So I just wanted to pretty much share my life and, what I get up to. So I essentially started it back then. And then in 2021, once I'd finished school, I did my certificate 3 and 4 in fitness. And then I was doing a certificate in nutrition as well. And at the time, I was also going to an F45 gym. And then they actually offered me a position there. And I did that for 8 weeks. And it was really great. But then one of my dream jobs for social media marketing and being a marketing manager popped up, and I just couldn't pass up that opportunity. So that cut my time short within the health and fitness industry. So I haven't actually been like a PT per se before, but I have coached group fitness. So when it comes to growing my page, it's so funny because everyone kind of looks at my page and they're kind of like, oh, how did you get there? How did you get there? To like for reference, I have 40,000 followers, which like it's literally just a number, but to some people it's something that they aspire to, and they ask me how I got there.
Of course.
Yeah, but it's funny because they don't see how much work went in like the 2 years prior to me getting over 3,000 followers, like every single day showing up, like no one was watching, but I just love it. Like I loved it back then and I still love it now. And I love sharing my passion for helping others, whether it's within health and fitness or within social media. I think, it's a social media platform, an entertainment platform that is made for us to connect and help a like broader group of people.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something that you said that is very important is like, you said before we started that you did your certificates and you had like, this opportunity to become a coach. And like, I'm sure you would have been very successful because you have really good content. You're very good at writing content. You're very good at like making content that's very interactive for people. So, that would have been quite not easy, but a kind of like a convenient way for you to take your business. But I think it's so cool that you're like, no, you know what? This is not actually what I'm passionate about doing, and I'm going to take another route. And yeah, that might be a little bit more out of my comfort zone and something that's a bit more challenging for me, but like that's what I'm actually passionate about.
And I think it can be a little bit sad when you kind of reflect on like high school and like, all the teachers and just like the whole kind of concept of how we've all kind of been conditioned to pick a career path, go with it, and you have to stick with it for your entire life. But I have always been someone who has been really eager to test the waters with different things to figure out what I'm passionate about. And, you know, my passion will change over time and evolve as I find different interests and X, Y, and Z. And it's not to say that I'm not going to come back to health and fitness, because even I actually last year was going to cut ties with health and fitness and stop posting that type of content and just do social media and business coaching. But then I realized, you know what? I actually love posting health and fitness content. Why can't I just merge the two together and hopefully try to help PTs be possible? But here we are.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, like you don't have to do just one thing. Like you can do everything, and you can, you know, help people with the personal training business. You can help people with, I don't know, growing a skincare brand or like anything. And I think it's so, like you said, I think we've been very like grown up and raised with that kind of, you pick your career path and then you stick with it for the rest of your life. And if you don't like it, like just suck it up and just do it. Like even with relationships, like I remember when I broke up with my ex, it was very like, oh, you can't like break up with him. Like you've been with him for so long. Like what else are you going to do? Like relationships take time. You know, you just have to stick with it now. And it's not like that. Like it might have been like that, you know, 20, 30 years ago, but we have that privilege now that we don't have to stay in the same job our whole life. So we don't have to stay in the same relationships our whole life. Like we actually have the option of choosing something different.
Absolutely. And I think it all comes back to perspective. Like, you know, 20 years ago, they probably were all expecting to only live until they were 70. Whether now, like, let's be realistic, we'll probably all live until we're like 100.
Yeah.
Like we have, and I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves because they feel as though they don't have time. But, you know, I listen to a lot of Gary Vee, and I love when I've seen a few videos of his, and he's like, if you don't make it in your 20s, you can make it in your 30s. If you don't make it in your 30s, you can make it in your 40s, and, you know, it carries on. But yeah, just taking away that pressure of feeling like you have to have your shit together now, but also being realistic with yourself and not just wasting time, you know, trying the different things and trying to figure out what you like.
Yeah, 100%. So how long have you been doing your business that you have now then?
This business, like social media account since 2019, but the coaching side of things since last August.
Okay, so almost 6 months-ish, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And then, like, what is your typical clientele? Is it mostly personal trainers and fitness people, or is it like all over the place?
Yes, they're pretty much everyone that I have worked with is either an agency owner or a coach, whether it's a holistic health coach or a personal trainer. Like it's definitely more health and fitness orientated. Which are the people that I love to work with anyways. So it's really turned out quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like you talked about before about how you kind of grew your page to like 40,000 followers. Like that's impressive. And I think especially nowadays, like it's, you know, if you were one of the first people on Instagram, I think it was kind of easy to kind of blow up and go viral. But now it just gets harder and harder and harder. So having grown that audience in like now, I think it's quite impressive. And I'm sure like there's a lot of people who aspire to grow that big and to basically, I guess, being able to live off their social media. Like what do you see? Like, what is the biggest mistake that you see around people when they are trying to grow their page?
Well, I might actually just like veer back for a second because I I find that comment like really interesting though, because I honestly believe like over the past, since Reels were released in 2020, like we all have this second chance with Reels to reach a broader community and grow our pages, whether previously, you're so right, it was so difficult. But I think the biggest mistake, like it really depends on your purpose. Like for me in past tense, all I was fixated on was growing my community. Like I'd wake up, first thing I'd check would be my phone. Last thing I'd check before I went to bed was how Reel was performing, like all of that kind of stuff. And then once I actually got to a place where I was like, you know what, the followers actually don't matter anymore. I'm really happy with how my community is, like everything like that. now it's, okay, how can I nurture my community? And I think the biggest, that's actually a really difficult question, the biggest mistake, because it really just depends who we're talking about. But I think not leading with purpose and intention. Like, behind each post, there's going to be a different intention. You know, if you're posting a reel, it may be the intention is for it to go viral and for it to reach a broader audience. But realistically, if you're going to post something like a carousel or a normal post, that's not going to get you much reach. So that the intention behind that would typically be to nurture your audience, because the people who love to hear and see what you're saying are going to be the people who are going to typically see those posts, because they're the ones that engage with it the most. So it's going to pop up on their feed. And it's just becoming really purposeful with that. And it's like, when I say that, it doesn't mean that each reel needs to take you hours upon hours. It can be something simple, but the purpose behind that might be to literally just be one video of the beach with some text on the screen, and that's okay. But it's knowing that the intention, like what the intention is behind that. And even when it comes to stories on social media, that is where you're going to nurture your audience. Because if you're not aware, stories won't be put out to a new audience. It'll just be the people who are following you. So that's really where your audience can get to know you. So, you know, they should know, what does your typical day look like? What are the things that you love to do, things about you? You know, it doesn't mean that you have to show them the toothpaste that you use every morning and all of the typical, personal stuff. Yeah. But they should they should know you.
Yeah. And I think that's something that it's very easy to forget. Like for me as a business owner, sometimes I get stuck in the habit of only posting my offers, or like only posting client testimonials. And of course that stuff is important as well. But sometimes I'm like, fuck, I literally have not posted anything today that hasn't anything to do with my business. So I'm like, of course no one's going to watch this. Like no one's going to want to see 50 client testimonials every single day. You know?
Yeah. And 100%, because I guess when you go to like a car sales yard, if you go in there and then the salesman is just pestering you around, obviously it's quite repelling. Yeah. I 100% respect the fact that you post about your offers so much, because a lot of the downfalls that I see from new business owners is being afraid to post their offers. And it's quite, I totally get what you mean though. It can be a little bit difficult to navigate the balance and the fine line, because, you know, I think a lot of people do forget that you're running a business. So, you know, Prada doesn't shut its doors when it feels as though it's being annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
You do have to show up, but at the same time, when it comes to social media and service-based providers, by you showing up and showing who you are, I truly believe that is you selling anyways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there are so many, because a lot of the girls who listen to this, they are becoming educated, becoming coaches themselves, and starting up their pages and starting to post. And there's so many coaches out there, and a lot of them have done the same course, so they're going to have around the same knowledge. So what sets you different has to be your personality, how you're acting towards your audience, showing who you actually are. And then people buy from you because of who you are, and not really of course your skills are important too, but they're not going to buy from someone who they're like, oh, she's so boring.
100%. Absolutely. And I think realistically, when it comes to socials, your skills will be showcased within your content anyways, because if you're a personal trainer, you're going to be posting about that style of thing. You are your niche, but you need to have something specific that you are known for.
Yeah, 100%. And girls, don't be afraid to post your offers. Like you said, it's really important to post this, consistently. One of my fellow coaches who I know off Instagram, she said to me, she's like, oh, someone just messaged me and said that they're gonna unfollow me because I post too much about my offers. And I was like, well, you are a business. Like you said, Prada's not going to shut their doors because someone is like, oh, it's so annoying that their shop is here and it's open. H&M are going to keep blasting their stuff. If you have a business, how else are people going to know what you're selling if you're not posting about it?
Absolutely. And I honestly believe that if you're not like if you have offers that you are putting out, if you're not selling them to your stories or on your socials, you're actually doing your followers a disservice, because you should have a program that is that good that you truly believe that everyone needs that offer.
Yeah.
So it's literally like your duty to share that with your audience. And even in
Love that.
yeah, honestly, like I just live by it. And it just, anytime you get the imposter syndrome, just think about that. But I honestly know people who have 500 followers who have made 6 figures in 1 year. Like, there is going to be people who unfollow you, and that's okay. Like, it is a part of the game. It is more important to have a smaller community of people who want to fucking buy from you. Like, sorry, I don't know if I like to swear on this podcast.
No, swear away.
But that, you know, actually want to invest in you, than having a larger audience of people who don't care what you're going to say.
Yeah.
So the people are going to come, they're going to go. It's just a part of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, for a long time, I really thought that, like, I was very stuck in that mindset. Like, I need 10K followers or 20K followers, otherwise I'm not going to sell. But like, God, when I first started out, like, I only had 20 or 2,000 followers or something, and I was like full with my coaching clients.
Yeah.
So it's not like, of course you need some followers, right? You can't just have like not zero.
You have to be selling.
No one's gonna see. Just someone start somewhere. But yeah, like, especially like you girls, you're starting off, like, either if you're starting a new page, or if you're just going with your normal personal page, like, just know that you don't need 40,000 followers to be able to sell an offer. But that's actually another important or interesting thing. Like, you know, when people first start off as personal trainers, nutritionists, or social media manager, or whatever it is that they want to do you normally recommend them to start at like a separate page for this, or do you recommend them to use their personal page to start, like, kind of sell their offer on there?
It really depends. Like, I think it is different to each client and their circumstance, because from an algorithm standpoint, if you have had the same Instagram since, 2015, and it's been on private and you haven't been using it, it could potentially be in a completely different like algorithm, and like that Instagram or TikTok would have placed it into, if that makes sense. So you're not really going to get shown to the people that you want to get shown to. But on the flip side, if you're only creating a new account because you're scared of what people are going to think who are following you, it really goes to show that you need to get the mindset side of stuff right first, because those people, even if you start a new account, they're going to see it. So it really does just depend on the client. But, it's honestly, I have seen that many people use their normal account and then make it public and start posting things specifically to their niche, and then they go great. Like, there's nothing to say that won't happen for you. But I think it's important to realize that just because you've been doing your PT certs and you have been really in health and fitness industry doesn't mean that your audience knows that, nor does it mean that the Instagram algorithm knows that. Because even from personal experience, when I tried to flick over to social media coaching and posting just about that, it takes the algorithm time to categorize you and understand, okay, you're in social media. So now that I'm kind of like doing both, it's like I can kind of tell that, views might be lower because who is the algorithm going to push me out to? If that makes, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like, when I first started, I remember I started my separate business page because people close to me, they were like, I'm not going to follow you. You post too much advice. You post too much of this. I don't care about that. I'm going to unfollow you if you keep posting it. So I started it out of like fear, I guess, like fear of judgment, because I was very like insecure about, okay, like, if you think that of me, that must mean I'm doing something wrong. But now, like, looking back, I wish that I would have just had my personal page, like, just for my own personal preference, because I was kind of doing 2 pages and trying to like, I guess, grow both at the same time, and one was always lacking. And I think for me it would have been better to just have one, because I believed so much in my business that I would just I literally just ended up posting on one story and then tagging it and reposting on the other one. Like,
Yeah,
now I need to
it just
stop
makes it double the work for yourself.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing. Well, actually, no. Yeah, sorry. I created a new one because I was so scared of what everyone else would think.
Yeah.
And my mindset going into it was that, you know what? I'm going to start this new account. So then I don't have to worry about what anyone else thinks, because if they're coming onto the page, they're coming. They didn't like, I didn't start
that was
my first
my
one.
too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's just about choosing what you're going to do and sticking with it, because even some of my contacts from Instagram, we've discussed like 90 days is the minimum amount of time that you should be testing something.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. That's really
And it's funny that it's 90 days, because I swear most fitness challenges are 12 weeks, 90 days as well. So I think that's just like the sweet spot for everything.
That is really interesting, actually. Because I didn't know that. When you said something before about how now you kind of, when you started doing the social media stuff, you're kind of using like Instagram is using a different algorithm, or like it's pushing you towards different people. So that's really interesting. I really didn't know that's something that actually happened, but I guess it does. Like, it definitely explains a lot of stuff, because I just recently gone through like a big change in my business myself, or it was probably around 3 months ago, and I definitely noticed like a decrease in views and shares and stuff, and I was like, what the hell's going on? But now it all makes sense.
Yeah, but it's also like so many things within social media and these platforms and Instagram, like it's really about testing and trialing and like for your own page, and just like seeing what's happening within other communities. But I guess when it comes to these platforms, like they are constantly trying different things, so that can also dictate whether your views and all the statistics are going to fluctuate, because sometimes if they're testing one thing, your content might not get shown, or if they're testing something else, yours might get shown more. Like it's just constantly changing and evolving, especially because they've got so many other platforms to keep up with now.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned before that Reels is something that's really important for people, or like it's an opportunity to kind of grow your page. Do you, like, if I'm like a new coach and I just started my page and I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to get clients or whatever, would you recommend like just posting Reels, or should it be like a mix, or like what's the best thing for a new coach to do?
If you're just trying to grow your community, I would just be posting Reels.
Right.
Because especially when it comes to Reels, the benefit of doing that is that, so whenever I edit my Reels or videos, I would do it in a third-party app. So then I can distribute that to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. If you want to distribute it to Facebook, Pinterest, like there are so many platforms nowadays that you can be utilizing. And the best part is it's going to go to different audiences. So you're going to reach more people.
So you can post the same video on all these platforms.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, yes, each of these platforms does have, different purposes and, should be slightly different. But if you're starting a new business, your priority is going to be coaching your clients, right? So the less amount of work that we can make you do for your socials, the better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even know you could do videos on Pinterest. This is how much of the game I am.
Yeah. No, well, like I don't really use it, but you can. And I honestly think you'd probably perform pretty well, because not many people would be using it.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's something that I need to look into. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone said to me that TikTok doesn't like when you don't edit the videos in the actual app. Is that true?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure with that one, because content that, like, from personal experience and even talking to clients, like, I don't think it really matters.
Right.
The only thing that I would argue would be correct in that statement is when you put auto captions, like when you edit your captions in a third-party app, it's actually probably better off if you did that in the TikTok app, because then TikTok can actually use the SEO to recognize what keywords are being said within your piece of content. And that way it's easier for the platform to categorize you and push you out on the For You page to people who are going to be interested in your style of content.
Oh, wow. Is that the same thing when you just put text over? So like it's just like a random voice, and then you just put whatever fitness or nutrition or whatever you put in there. Is it the same thing?
Yes. Yeah. So it's like whether it's in your caption or whether you're just adding text on the screen or you're doing auto captions, all of those things combined, really.
Gosh, I'm learning so many things. I should have taken my notepad.
I love that. Love it.
So I think this is so good. So before you started doing like all of your like the social media stuff that you were doing, were you just working like with social media? Like was that like your job, like being an influencer?
Like after school?
Yeah, like did you like get paid for that or like how?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I was ever aware of how well influencers get paid, considering the amount of work that it is. I will say that.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, like, I consider my Instagram or TikTok like real estate, right? So like when a company or a brand that I'm collaborating with, they're paying me for a piece of real estate on my page because I have worked really, really hard to build this account, to build this following, to create this content. So they're not just paying for me for that one piece of content, but for all the time and effort that I have put in previously and that I'm going to put in for. But yeah, like I left school and I was working 3 jobs. I was doing 3 certs and I was doing full-time university and being a competitive athlete and then social media on top. I wouldn't recommend that because I did burn out.
Sounds like a recipe to burnout. Yeah.
Yes, correct. But yeah, I've just kind of continued to prioritize it. And like, you know, a lot of people do say, I just don't have the time to create content and, you know, all the excuses under the sun. But at the end of the day, you will make time for it if it's something that you prioritize and that you value.
Yeah, of course. And I also like, I just don't really understand people who don't like making content for their business. Like if you are passionate about your business, you're passionate about helping your people, your clients, like, how can you not like making content and writing content about those kind of things? Like, shouldn't this be something that you like? For me, I would talk about it all day long. Like, I love it. I think it's so fun. Of course, like every now and then, it's like, oh, it's the last thing I want to think about. But most of the time, it's so something like it should be something that you're so passionate about that you just want to make content for it, right?
Yeah, like I absolutely love making content, but I do understand when people find it a little bit difficult, just like the technology side, because sometimes, you know, I find it so, like, yeah, I find all of the editing and everything so fun, so interesting, so easy. But, you know, when your main job is a PT or a business owner, it can be a little bit difficult to create that content when it's not your strong suit.
Yeah.
But like to that, I say, if you do struggle with it, just literally just film your day, like film your clients, like just have content that you can bank up. And then you can, you know, if you're really running low on content, you can just utilize that and make it into a quick reel. And I also don't think you have to be posting every single day either, because for most people, that's just not realistic.
Like on your feed or on your story?
I think on story, you should be posting every day except for 1 day a week because, sorry, this is me just getting into the nitty gritty.
No, I love it.
But when it comes to story, I have 1 day like that I try not to post on the socials and then try and just not to go on socials because number one, I think it is so important to prioritize the human behind the screen. But number two, when you actually come back on, that after the 24 hours, typically you're going to receive a lot of great story views and like engagement on that story back because the algorithm will boost you. And especially if you're using an engagement sticker. So I would typically, you know, if I have offers that I'm launching at that time, you know, first photo might be me on a Sunday morning, selfie of my run and a little poll. And then the next following stories might be about an offer. Because then like there will be more people seeing it, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, there you go, guys. Having a day off is actually good for the algorithm. I didn't know that either.
Exactly. Win.
Yeah. Because I think it's a lot of like, I think a lot of people who are business owners struggle with that. Oh, I need to do more. Like no one's buying. I'm going to post more. I'm going to create more content. I'm going to reach out to more people or whatever. But sometimes it's just about doing less. And obviously this is a great proof for that. So guys, this is your reason. If you haven't already, take a day off this week and just know that it's good for the algorithm. It's actually going to help boost your stories.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think in regards to feed content, like I said, you don't have to post every single day. Like I know when I first started off, I was posting every single day, but now twice, 3, 4 times a week, but I post at the same time. Like, but on the flip side, when it comes to TikTok, this year I've been trying to post once a day. Or at least like 5 times a week, just because it is a newer platform and I'm like testing it out, testing different things. And I find it a little bit easier to upload to TikTok because it just is that little bit less polished than Instagram.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. I feel like you could create a TikTok, and also because you don't have to write a caption. I find that so on TikTok, it's just like, here's whatever you, like thingy is about, like here's nutrition tip or something, like best tips for fat loss or whatever tips it is. And with Instagram, it's like this big long, like I guess it doesn't have to be a big long caption for everything that you do, but for TikTok, it's literally you can't, like you don't have a choice.
Yeah, literally. Well, they have extended like the caption, but you're so right. Like, I don't know anyone who actually does do a long caption, but even like for Instagram, half the time I don't do that long of a caption either, just because like personally, I don't usually read people's captions. Like I become more engaged when I see, maybe a lot more text on stories. Like it's something that I'm interested in. I will hold and read that instead.
Yeah.
But once again, it just comes back to like everyone's different, their purpose behind it's different, and the way that they consume content is different.
Yeah, for sure. So when you were kind of doing like growing your Instagram page and like starting doing like your social media business and stuff like that, did you ever like struggle with that? Did you ever receive like, because I know when I first started, people were like, oh, that's not a real job. Like, that's not like, you need to like, oh, you can do this now as a hobby, but then you're going to have to get a new job. Like a lot of people who around me were saying stuff like that. Did you ever get that at all?
Well, like starting it in school, I was a little bit skeptical, like, oh, am I going to get bullied or something? But I was quite lucky and fortunate that I never received any negative feedback. I can say that. But I think also just because, but because like I would bring that back to the person that I am. Like, if someone did have an issue, I would happily go up to them and be like, hey, like, so I heard you thought that was lame. Like, what do you think was lame about it? Like, I just kind of just get along with most people. So, and I wasn't posting anything that was necessarily negative. So there wasn't really much reason for someone to say negative things about it. But nowadays, like I still do work in retail a couple of days a week because I love it. Like I love seeing people in real life. But I have also had, in regards to making a real business, like people not understanding that it is a business just as much as the ice cream shop down the road.
Yeah, totally.
But navigating that, it really just comes back to like realizing which projections are yours to hold and which aren't, because some people's opinions are their opinions and it really has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And just building your emotional intelligence to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more I kind of grow into my business and the longer I've had it, the more I realize that how I treat my business is how I treat every other relationship in my life as well.
Yes. And I honestly stand by the saying, the way you show up in one aspect of your life is the way that you show up in every.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to remember that, guys, that if you are struggling with your business and if you are struggling to show up, if you're getting really anxious, like take a look at your other relationships. Well, like, are you seeing this pattern somewhere else? Like maybe you're that person who goes on the dating apps just to kind of look for validation, or like double text every single person that you talk to, or showing that anxious energy everywhere, which is like, that's something that you're gonna have to fix. Like you said, that with your emotional intelligence, like, no one's really gonna want to buy from someone who is it's called not dramatic. Oh, I'm losing my words there. But someone who is anxious and who is very just like pushy and who is desperate. That's the word I was looking for. Who is desperate. Like no one wants to buy from someone who's desperate. Just like no one wants to hang out with someone who's desperate. Like if you had a friend who's constantly like, hello, when are we hanging out? When are we hanging out? Are we going to do this? Like you wouldn't want to hang out with them. So, like you wouldn't want to buy from someone who's like, are you going to buy me offer? Are you going to come see me now? Like posting a million times a day. Like you just have to, have a think about your emotional intelligence around business as well.
Absolutely. And I honestly think like that's just a human repellent.
Literally.
To put it simply.
Yeah, 100%. So
Absolutely.
obviously you've grown like this big platform now and you've been very successful. It's this like, what is your plans for the future? Like, are you someone who have like big goals, or are you kind of like, just like see what happens, run with it, and that, what's your plan?
I definitely do have some big goals for this year, but I'm like, I love my business and I'm treating it as a business, but at the same time, just going through life and enjoying the process. Like I'm going to Europe for a month this year. I'm still at university this year. But I do still want to really focus and fine tune my business. And just help other women grow their business and have, the luxury of being able to work online and call that your job as well. Like, because it is such a cool thing. Like literally you sitting in Bali right now, working. Like it's crazy. We are so fortunate.
We really are. And like I always get people who message me and they're like, oh, you're so lucky to be in Bali, like blah, blah, blah. Like,
is it luck?
Really though? Like I've fucking worked hard for this. Like, I'm very, very grateful, but it didn't just happen. Like I didn't just wake up one day and I was in Bali, I had this successful business,
Yeah. It's like there is no piece to it that's luck. I don't believe. Like
absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. It's just like, opportunities, they don't just fall into your lap. Like you create these opportunities for yourself, and they only happen when you are actually truly aligned with what it is that you want to do, and you trust that it's going to come to you. Because when you are constantly, when you're desperate and when you're searching for all these new things and for something to do and for, I don't know, the perfect partner or whatever it is, that's never ever going to happen.
Yeah, definitely not. And I feel like honestly, the people who, maybe not be handed the easiest cards are honestly the ones who end up performing better and doing better within their life, relationships or whatever, because they actually know how to work fucking hard for what they want. If you just get it handed to you on a glass silver platter, you don't know how to actually work for it.
Yeah, no,
and consistency 100%. Is king, so you're gonna have to keep working.
Yeah, 100%. I see that so much in people who they want to start off, and either if there's their Instagram page or if they want to become a personal trainer, a nutritionist, or whatever, and then they don't get clients in the first week or first month, and then like, okay, I'm gonna give up. But like you said, it's gonna take like 90 days for you to really see if what you're doing is working.
And even in regards to podcasts, because I actually had a podcast coach on my podcast a little while back, and we were discussing how, I'm not sure on the exact statistic, but I think like there's only like a 5% or like 1% of podcasts make it past the first 10 or 5 episodes.
You know what? I am not surprised at all, because I feel like every single person I know here in Bali has a podcast. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden they don't anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. Because most people don't realize how much time, effort, and energy goes into producing a podcast. Because if you can talk for, 15 to an hour, you obviously know what you're talking about. You obviously care about your community. But like, it's fucking hard. It's hard work.
Yeah. And especially when no one's watching or listening, like, of course no one's going to listen if they've never really heard of you. Like, unless you're someone who has a huge audience and then you start a podcast, then of course. But like the first however many episodes, I don't even know how long it would take to create a successful podcast. I guess it's different for everyone. But I obviously work for Women's Fitness Academy, but I can imagine if I started my own and only like 1 or 2 people would listen, I'd be like, oh, that's not fun. Like
Yeah. And I think even when it comes to TikTok or any social media platform, whether it's podcasting or whatever, pretending that oh my God, my video last night got 1 million views.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee if you actually did have a video that went viral the night before, you would show up differently. You would show up really excited, wanting to make more content, wanting to make more podcasts because you knew that people were watching. So if you can show up like people are watching, the game will change.
Yes, I love that so much. I think that's such a powerful thing. And really, yeah, I fucking love that. Showing up like 1 million people are watching.
Because they really are.
It's great advice. And it's so true. I think sometimes as business owners be like, oh, no one spots me from a week or 2 weeks or however long. And then all of a sudden, bam, you just get like 3 people buying from you in one day. And it's like, oh, yes, this is fun again. It is just about the consistency. But that's, I guess, what makes you different to everyone else is that you're actually showing up. You're actually still posting. You're still showing, like you're still, doing your stories, doing your posts, doing your reels, showing up on TikTok, showing up on podcasts, even if no one's watching, and then one day people will.
Absolutely. And even like consider yourself as an example. Like, I don't know about you, but the amount of times that I have been on the fence, so close to buying into someone else's offer. And if they were to have just posted it one more time, I can almost guarantee I would have bought in.
Yeah. Yep. Oh God. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, there must be like, if one person's on the fence, I can almost guarantee there's another 9 people.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if it's something that is a bigger investment. Like, yeah, if you're going to buy coaching for $30, yeah, that's fine. Like, you don't really care. But if it's something that costs you a couple of grand, like for me, like with the coach that I have now, it took me like 6 months to kind of to work up to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? I am actually just going to do it now. So it takes a while for people, and especially when you are, offering high ticket things, like it's going to take people. It's not as easy as selling a course for $3,000 is a lot harder than selling a course for $30 because you're going to attract completely different people here.
Definitely. And I think it's really interesting because it really does come back to building that trust with your audience, because even my first business coach, the container was nearly $9,000. I didn't even read the description, the text on the screen. I just DM'd her and said, yep, this is for me. Because I trusted her, because I have been following her for 3 years. I didn't even need to read it.
Yeah. No, literally, that was literally the same with me. I'm like, I don't even care what it is. Just put me in. I know I'm going to work with you. Now, finally, just do it. Here's my money. Just take it. I don't want to regret it.
Exactly, 100%. And it's like, it's about building that trust, because that's why they're buying. It's not because of the pretty colors that you use.
Yeah, I absolutely love that so much. Well, Lily, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you for almost an hour. And yeah, thanks again for showing up an hour early, even though we had the time zone issues. God, I don't know how many times this happened to me, but one day I'm going to get it right, okay?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, normally I'm pretty good at asking what time zones you're in, but for some reason I must have missed. Anyway, we got her in the end. But yeah, it's been so nice to talk to you. Are you taking on new clients at the moment? Like, what's your new projects? Like, give us a little plug.
Absolutely. So I, in the moment, still have 2 spots left for 1-to-1s for a 12-week container. And I do have a few other offers on the horizon, but you'll have to come check me out on Instagram, Lily Turton, little plug. And I'm sure you'll be seeing them on my feed very, very soon.
Oh, very exciting. Yeah. Just check out her stories, check out her feed, and we'll obviously link you in the show notes as well. So guys, if you enjoyed this episode about how to grow your social media, how to expand on all platforms, please make sure you do take a screenshot. You tag myself, you tag Lily, you tag Women's Fitness Academy, so we can reach out and say thank you. And also, if you're trying any of Lily's tips and you're seeing like, fuck, this really made a massive difference here, like definitely tag her. I'm sure she would love to know and be able to connect with you.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely gonna download Pinterest now. I thought that was just for like seeing your different nail designs and like house and interior and stuff like that. I never really thought that was something I would ever use, but definitely gonna check it out. Yeah, thank you so much for all your tips and for all your knowledge. It's been so good to talk to you. Yeah, I'm excited to see what else you'll get up to. And have a beautiful day. And thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much for having me on.